and all, welcome back to Dust. And boy, have I been playing a lot of Dust lately, so much so that, look, we have new tanks. Yeah, these are new tanks. Look, that's the Amarr tank, can't you tell? And look, that's the Mimitar tank. Again, can't you tell? Oh, God. Very lazy, sloppy development if they think this is acceptable. But hey, you know, I'm not going to be the negative one, you know. Yeah, this has been released. It's a shot of something. This is basically showing you that you're going to get the Amarr and Mimitar tanks, and they're just reskinned, which is kind of, I guess, disappointing. Why don't they just release the Jove tank as well, and the Sleeper tank, and just everything else, and just paint them a slightly different hue? I don't know, I just think it's really lazy, sloppy development that they can think this is acceptable, and they're using the very, very weak thing of the community wanted it, brah. And I think that's not good. That's not good enough, because the community wants drones. So you're going to put drones in, are you? And they're going to be little, you know, kind of sprites that go 8-bit around the screen. No, of course you're not. So I really hope that they don't go ahead with this. Then again, let's take the counter argument. Again, you know, in life, you're not right all the time, and neither am I. And you have to take the counter argument. So if somebody turns to you and says, "You're a bit of a dick, mate," you don't just turn around and say, "No, I'm not a dick." You, well, you know, if that's ever happened to you, obviously, just make sure you're not about to be hit by a flying pint of beer. You know, your next discussion point should be, why do they think that? So with the whole kind of reskinning thing, I've obviously not liked that. I did a video a long time ago, jokingly taking the Galante and Caldari tanks and just painting them a different colour. Little would I believe that that's actually the process they went through. But hey, there you go. But if this is what they're going to do, let's look at the analytical and non-emotional way of why would they do this. Well, it's to add new stuff to the game. That's always nice. It could just be a placeholder, so that's perfectly fine. And I think really, if this is just a quick fix that someone can go tap 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 tap, done, right on to the next important things of new modes and, you know, fixing the lag and all that, then I suspect that is perfectly fine. I would be welcoming of that. I don't know, sometimes I do kind of worry that the 20 or so people that use the forum, and I'm being serious, that post on the forum, are basically running the roost now, it would appear, because, you know, the Ritati made it very clear that this was overwhelmingly community sponsored. So by that he means overwhelmingly the 1% that actually can be asked to go to the forums, because let's face it, the forums are a terrible in-crowd for about 20 people. That's pretty much what's happened here. I'm sure I'm going to get a bit of hate for this off the 20 people, but, you know, seriously, the forums are not a, quote, forum. I know they actually would go by the name forum, but they're not a forum. They are basically where people can go who want to talk to their friends, because they have their own private forum now, because everybody else doesn't go anywhere near A, Dust 514, B, the forums of Dust 514, or C, their PlayStation 3s. Yes, remember the PlayStation 3. It's that thing you've got propping open the door to your PlayStation 4 playroom. Ugh. Anyway, I'm going to be positive. If they want to reskin tanks, then obviously it's their game. They can do what they like. I would just leave this very, very harshly stated warning that if, and again, this is no troll, if basically you are a part of the production process of Dust 514, so this is on your CV, and you can stand up and say, do you know what, it's just a reskinned tank because we couldn't even try and change the model a little bit. The image is also going to be a problem, so where we've got the Galante logo, might have to leave that on the Amarr tank, which makes no sense at all. If these are things that you find acceptable and agreeable in a product that you are being responsible and paid to do, then awesome, I'm happy, bro, smiley face, because, you know, that's it. I don't have, you know, it's not my... it's not my credibility at risk here. You know, I actually don't care. If they include the tank, it's no different to a normal tank anyway. So what's the point of it? You know, I don't see the point of adding it if it's just the same flipping tank. But anyway, that's just me. I don't know. So there we go. That's probably the big bit of news, and that's pretty damning that that is the only bit of news that I could certainly disseminate from the forums. Obviously, Dust went down. I don't know if you noticed this. Again, I would just stress, a huge number of you watching this video right now, listening to my Somebody said I sounded like Wheatley from Portal 2. Very disappointed at that, because that's Stephen Merchant, who is an awesome comedian, and I love his work, and I am nowhere even near his humour level. He is obviously super British. He is basically, it's like if you watch a film now in Hollywood, he's the geeky British kind of weird, kind of Hugh Grant, but not as good looking kind of guy. And I respect that because it makes me smile. But anyway, what was I talking about? I think the reality is that not a lot is happening in Dust at the moment. And I was going to start screaming at me. Yes, there is. This PC battle took place. It was amazing. Yeah, but really. I think I'm more interested in hearing something that is interesting coming into the game, like the new game mode. That'd be quite cool to see. I would like to know much more about that, please. I don't actually know if there's even released anything about it, because again, I would stress only a few people read the forum, and they kind of dominate it. If you go near it, they kind of shit all over you. So good moderation there, CCP. But I think the reality is that there's about 7 people working on Dust 514 now, maybe even less. And I think it's quite evident. You can kind of feel it, because I think what was it I saw as well? One that just completely blew my little fragile British mind, which was, if you want to play without lag, ... make sure your inbox is empty. I remember I played with about 500 unread emails in my inbox for about a year and a half. And it was only recently when I actually bothered to go and delete it. So if that's actually a thing, then oh wow, Jesus, that is not good. Anyway, what can you say? So new stuff coming. It's reskinned stuff. Post in the comments. Is that good enough? Are you happy with that? I think for myself, I'm just a bit. I don't know, because let me explain, right? And this is I'm going to go on a bit here, so you might want to fast forward about 2 minutes. I always had this dream. I had a dream, and it was that when Dust came out, it was basically going to lend very heavily from the Eve IP, the intellectual property, and they were basically going to say, do you know what? We've got this wonderful world and universe. We're filled with things, and we're going to use this as a sandbox, quote, to basically make a game that's just amazing. And I remember thinking, have my money now, take my money, your money is mine, have it. I went and bought a PS3. I don't actually use PS3s for anything else, to be honest. At the time, I actually bought the PS3 just to play Dust, which is quite an interesting thing to do in itself. But anyway, I was very impressed. I liked the cut of their jib. It looked a good thing. And when obviously they started showing vehicles, because as an Eve player, that was a big deal to me, because vehicles were obviously part of the process of Eve, was the ships, the different designs and such. Anyway, what I was excited about was seeing what the hell would an Amarr tank, a Minmatar tank, a Galante Caldari tank, dropship, LAV, MAV, fighter, heavy assault drone, all of these. I always thought, what would these things look okay? And I think that was always the wonder of this game was, oh my god, can you imagine what an Amarr tank would look like? And I remember the concept art that they showed a long time ago was actually a hover tank. I know, cool, eh? It was some form of hover tank with a beam laser on it, or impulse laser. And I just remember thinking, oh my god, that would be amazing. And then I moved my eye across the page to the Minmatar tank. The Minmatar tank was supposed to be this clanking, huge, pretty big monstrosity of cannons and kind of jerry-rigged shield arrays that crackled energy as these tanks trundled across the tank, looking the battlefield, looking for enemy tanks. When they saw that enemy tank, huge cannons shiveled round, basically on really rusty, kind of not so well oiled mounts, and then a cannon as big as King Kong's first dump of the day swung round and then basically fired a projectile with a thank you for using Minmatar stenciled on the side of it, and it ploughed into a tank and it just exploded. That's what I dreamt would be of this game, and let me tell you why that this is such a big deal about the skin tanks. Is that basically they're saying they can't even they can't even create 2 new models, apparently, that are even there already. but they can't create 2 models for tanks. So why would you ever think you're going to get anything new ever again? If this is such a problem to add 2 tanks, again, taking a big picture view here, if just adding the remaining 2 racial tanks, which are already coded, so I'm told, and in the code, again, so I'm told, that they can't do it, they're basically saying you will never have your MAV, you will never have your fighters, you will never have anything else because it's just too difficult to do. And what you're going to get now is a medium assault vehicle which looks suspiciously like a tank hull, and you're going to get a fighter which looks suspiciously like a dropship. And this is why I have a bit of an issue with it. Again, I don't necessarily care if it's all kind of holding things and stuff like that. My issue is it just feels like that is it. They're not really going to be able to do anything. That's actually the key point. Let me just stress that point. Is that it's not that they won't do it. It actually seems and feels like they can't do it. And that's the worry for me, particularly on a game where pretty much the only thing that's keeping a lot of people here is still the promise of new content and new game modes and new things. I mean, I've got to admit, the jumping was a great thing to add, but it's, again, just tweaking mechanics. It is feeling like, and again, I don't know if this is the case, but it certainly feels like it. It is feeling like they have inherited an engine of a game that they actually have no ability to control anymore. And what this means is that certain things, let me just cite a particular item here, which was the shotgun cloak debuff, whatever you call it, the delayed pause timer to go from cloak to shoot. And it just feels like they don't actually have the ability to code these things anymore. What they're doing is they're just literally pulling the levers of the game. So they're changing it so that the delay, the countdown delay for swapping a weapon went up. They didn't actually make a mechanic or code anything. So I actually don't think they have any coders left. I think what they've got is a group of people who have an asset, being the engine, and they're just pulling levers. Okay, and that's sad. I mean, I don't want to be negative about the game because it is a great game. It's a very fun game. But I guess my fear is it's kind of like if you can't change anything properly, that's concerning. That's really concerning. And I think adding a figure that makes myofibril stimulants basically reduce your or increase your jump height. Yeah, that's fun. I like it. But it does feel that it's just somebody tweaking numbers in a database. They're not sitting there and coding it. And I'll give you an example of this. If you watch any of our H1Z1 stuff, that is where you see a group of coders really changing code, and they'll say, do you know what, let's try this mechanic. And it could be that, I don't know, zombies can grab you when you get within range of and that was something that was not in the game, and they wrote it in a week. I mean, that's impressive, and I think that's really where I would stress Dust was some time ago. It did feel that they were, I guess, adding proper code and function and form, whereas just pressing levers and twiddling knobs and making it so that instead of the cell value saying 1, it says 2, and it's things like that. And there we go. I mean, I'm not going to be negative about it. If that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. But I just wish they'd be a bit more honest about it. At the moment, I kind of get a bit fed up of this whole skinning tanks and then just sort of saying with a professional credibility at risk. They're kind of there saying, yeah, it looks all right, it'll do. The community's asked for it. And I think, well, yeah, but the community asked for everything, and you're just going to basically give them a that'll do moment. And this is why it's important. The British car industry, hang on, where's he going with this? The British car industry failed because the ability to, well, it didn't fail, it's actually still going strong. But anyway, the British owned car business failed because you couldn't get people to actually give a shit. Okay, so you had a huge amount of people building crappy cars, crappy design cars. And they were made even worse because they were built by people who really didn't want to do it. And this meant that basically if your car was built on a Monday or a Friday, you got the worst car in the world ever, because basically they couldn't be asked. And it became known as the Birmingham That'll Do car. And it's basically a whole group of workers basically saying, fuck it, that'll do. And I just worry that that's a little bit where we're going with this game. That whole reskin tank thing for me was basically them saying, fuck it, that'll do. And that does worry me. I mean, I've got to admit, lately it does feel that almost all of CCP is like this at the moment, and it is because they have been bought. They are new. They are under new board management. Let's just be clear about that. That happened over a year ago. That's why. Remember all the cuts that happened? It was because the board was basically commandeered, if you like. And this is why there's no investment to develop the game as much as they would like, and so on. So it is a sad thing. I'm not going to sort of sit here and say the bastards. I think the reality is what they've done with what they've got is excellent. This is still an excellent game. But I really do not like that they're going down the easy mode route. I don't like the that'll do attitude. And I think that's very dangerous, because that will lead to eventually, they'll listen to the forum whiners and people who are very uninformed that basically the game should go this way, and it will just vindicate even more people. And I think, not good. Post the comments, tell me what you think. Let me know, are you happy that they're bringing in Amarr tanks that are basically reskinned Galante tanks? Are you happy that they're bringing in the Minmatar tank, which isn't a clanking monstrosity? It's basically a Caldari tank with a paint job. Are you happy about this? Tell me. I'm interested. We still play this game. We still struggle through. We still get fun from it. But I've got to admit, lately, less and less. Post in the comments. Let me know how you feel. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.